The story begins when Kratos meets Ymir for the first time, and well, something different happens. Mimir also suggests a way to help them, a help for masking their presence, to keep them away from Odin's radar. And Kratos says, "So you know how?" To which Mimir replies, "No, I know someone." And so, just like in the original, he cuts Mimir's head off and, well, takes him to Freya, where, like in the original, you know, it doesn't go as well as Mimir would have. Well, probably as Mimir expected, believe it or not. But yeah, this is where Mimir pretty much explains that, great, now that I'm revived, we can actually go ahead and find him. To which Kratos says, "You never mentioned who the person was." Well, it's quite a very unsavory history, if you will. He does not like gods, but again, he is quite helpful in the right hands. To which Freya, picking up on who they're talking about, says, "You're looking for him, the Leviathan." To which Mimir says, "Yes." Kratos simply asks her, "You know him?" To which Freya then begins to tell the tale of the Leviathan, with Atreus actually sitting, eagerly listening. Long ago, when the realms were at peace, there was a warrior, kind, noble, and just, helping everyone throughout the realms. He was her everything, as she was his. However, as the war with the Vanir and the Aesir grew, Odin grew jealous of the relationship they had, and so he sent every Aesir force possible to confront this warrior. Leviathan fought tooth, tail, and jaw to actually be able to beat Odin and to beat Thor as well. However, this is where he revealed his true self, his monstrous form, far more powerful and destructive that it would rival, if not surpass, the world serpent in terms of its destructive capability. However, Odin, before he could lose, casted a spell, a sealing spell that trapped the serpent in ice, that trapped the greatest warrior of the realms deep beneath Midgar's frozen areas. And so that is where he remained. Unfortunately, the rest of Freya's story would also go on the same, fathering a child or mothering a child that she did not want, marrying a man she did not want. That was her sworn enemy, and reluctantly trying to usher an era of peace that would not last. However, she states that Odin may have actually sealed him there, but Odin was never good at magic, at least not as much as he cracked himself up to be. There's always a vulnerability in his magic, and so if you find him, Freya simply states, "Please bring him back to me. I would love to see him again, to hold him and love him." To which Atreus says, "Well, okay, what are we waiting for? We get to go on a new adventure and meet someone incredibly powerful." And this is where Freya says, "Indeed, young one, but I will stay here in case Odin is still watching. So be on your way and make sure that he's in a good mood." To which Kratos simply states, "Very well." And so he and Atreus embark on a journey, with them both talking about what Freya said. If this creature is so powerful that it could nearly wipe out all the Aesir, beat Thor, and force Odin to do a dirty trick, how dangerous would he be if he goes unchecked? Has his mind been addled by the years of isolation, or has something kept him from going insane? And so this is where they follow a path of destruction, unlike anything they've seen before. The destruction where this battle took place many, many eons ago. And Kratos and Atreus go deeper and deeper into this winter area until it starts to basically become a blizzard, an ice storm, if you will. Far colder and far more dangerous than anything, that they have to duck in and out of caves just to make sure that their health doesn't get low. Again, yeah, this would actually be a pretty cool thing to do, as again, it means that Odin's magic is pretty powerful, that he created this ice storm that would even drain anyone's health. that could, condemn someone to a far worse fate than what this Leviathan went through. And so Atreus eventually does see it. He sees the prison of the Leviathan coiled up inside as if it was just waiting, hoping one day it would break out. But this is where Atreus also notices something. There's a crack, and it seems to be inflicted from the inside out, meaning slowly he would have broken out, but it would have taken so long. And so this is where Mimir simply states, well, brother, I suggest you let him have it, and beware, he may not be so friendly to me and, well, the Aesir in general. And so Kratos hits it. 1, 2, and then he winds up for the final swing and releases the Leviathan. Now, I'm just going to let this clip play out to show you how the interaction would go, or how the awakening of the Leviathan would go. Atreus thinks this is amazing, but he notices it doesn't really notice them. Kind of interesting that a Leviathan can fly as well, but hey, they've probably seen, well, Atreus probably thinks his father's seen crazier things. So, noticing that it's not getting their attention after a while, Kratos actually lets out a fierce battle cry, even raising his axe into the air to get the creature's attention. Okay, Godling, you have my attention. What do you want? I merely freed you in hopes that you would aid us. I was actually hoping that maybe you would know a way to maybe get the Aesir off our back. To which the Leviathan moves close and simply chuckles at him. Why would I help a god? And then he kind of takes a minute to sniff out Kratos. Oh. My, what do we have here? You're not Norse. Or even, not Aesir either. To which Atreus says, well, we're actually hoping to reach Jotunheim as well, as our mother, well, died, and we want to scatter her ashes on the highest peak of the realms. To which Kratos says, quiet boy. But this is where Leviathan tells him to show him what he means, and Kratos hesitantly pulls out the bag of ashes. And so this is where the Leviathan reverts into his more warrior-like state and approaches Kratos, and he inspects the bag, but he can sense something familiar. A friend. Faye. One of the few people that fought alongside him against the Aesir, but unfortunately she's dead. And this does kind of strike a nerve within him. But he sees that this must be her child and her husband, kind of putting 2 and 2 together. And he simply states, very well, I will be your distraction. To which Kratos simply states, thank you. Will you go on a rampage? To which the Leviathan laughs and simply states, Faye was a friend of mine. I don't think we would be friends if I went on mindless rampages 24/7 like some rampant animal. Take your bag, Greek, or Northern, if you will. I don't know what do they call Kratos in the game. I know they actually said some type of, locationist type of thing. But this is where the Leviathan simply states that he also senses someone else. Someone he's been meaning to reconnect to for a while. And he simply tells them, go on your journey. And Mimir, I know you're behind that man's butt. To which Mimir's like, hi, don't worry. You look like you suffered enough. Plus, it is funny in your position. But now that I have simply giving you my aid. Be sure to use this in order to contact me. And he hands a small thing to Atreus. I guess you could say a small amulet, if you will. And so he turns right back into his beast form and then simply flies off, now free to do whatever he wants. And Kratos and Atreus simply leave, marveled by the, well, creature. And this is where we head to Freya's house as she begins to feel something. The weather changes as the rain begins to pour. Beautifully, I might add. Different colors as well. And she states, "It's him." And she runs out to see Leviathan circling around, making a heart shape out of the clouds in the air, showing multiple rainbow like colors in it. And she's like, "Oh my god, you're still, oh my god, you're still alive." And to which Leviathan slowly moves down and simply states, "Oh, Freya, how I've missed you. How I've kept myself sane just by thinking of you alone." And so this is where he does revert back into his more warrior-like state. And Freya approaches him and they hug for a moment. But Freya wants to see the real him. It's been too long since she's had someone to care, to love her as she truly wanted to be loved. And, well, he allows her to remove his helmet in order to reveal his face. He looks a little battered and bruised, but Freya can easily heal that. And so, with that being said, they would kiss. And, well, Leviathan would carry her back into their cabin, or back into Freya's cabin, and, let's just say there's a lot of love going on in there. And then we would head back to Asgard, or basically we would head outside for a minute, and there would be a raven, which would then fly off to Asgard a little bit earlier in this timeline, because again, of the events. But with such a powerful being running around, I don't think this could actually go under Odin's radar unnoticed. And so the raven flies all the way to Odin's keep, where it caws frantically. And this is where we actually see Odin and Heimdall wondering what the heck the bird could be calling about. And this is where the bird shows up. Not sure how Odin could definitely see through such multiple birds, but again, probably through his Aesir magic. And Odin freaks out about this, but simply states he's still recovering, I bet. So he sends Magni and Modi to go and deal with the Leviathan. And that's where we're going to leave it off here. A bit shorter than I like to intend to, but I actually do think that it is for the best at the moment. So be sure to comment down below, like and subscribe and share with your friends. And I want you guys to give the Leviathan an actual name. I'm thinking going along with Draconis or Leviathus or Levian, but something that represents power, but in an aquatic, natural, or nature way. But with that being said, y'all have a blessed day, and I'll see you guys for the next part.